Amelia clutched her purse tightly in her hands. She should have taken a cab, she thought, but decided it would be better if she walked, even though it was 12 o'clock at night. There was no one on the street. Only the clatter of her shoes against the pavement resounded in the darkness. A streetlight was burning only at the end of the street. Amelia walked a little faster, trying to reach the source of the light as soon as possible. Amelia and her friends were having a good time tonight. Amelia was at a friend's house where a large group of people had gathered. By 12 o'clock almost everyone had left, and she started to get ready to go home too. The friend lived a couple blocks from Amelia's house. And the girl decided that she would wait too long for a cab. It would be faster to walk home on her own. But tonight for some reason the streets were poorly lit. Amelia felt her heart pounding with fear. She was already halfway to the end of the street. And then she heard a quiet male voice. "Where are you running alone so late?" he continued to say. "Maybe you need some company." Amelia shuddered with surprise and, without turning around, replied, "No, thanks, I'm almost home." She walked even faster, clutching her purse to herself. The high-heeled shoes were preventing her from walking faster. What was she thinking as she set off on her nightly walk alone? Amelia heard footsteps behind her and a moment later someone grabbed her arm. There were several people. Amelia was frightened, and at the same time she saw two men in front of her. Another stood behind her and held her. Amelia's eyes widened in horror. She realized that she was in an incredibly dangerous situation. The guy in front of her was very young. Maybe even younger than her. His scary grin made her cringe with discomfort. And the guy quietly said again, "I'll say it again. Don't you want company? We could have a little chat. We're bored. And then you can move on. You don't mind, do you?" The guy smiled a sinister smile. Amelia realized that she was in big trouble right now. And no one was around to help her. She furiously shook her head, but it was useless. Just then she felt someone yank the guy behind her. Amelia jerked after him. And then she was free. She was frightened and stood still, watching what was happening. A strong-looking guy came to her rescue. In the dim light of a lantern standing nearby, she could not see his face, but he looked tall and strong. Our Amelia's savior knocked out two of them, and the third, seeing such a fight, decided not to risk it and quickly ran away. Amelia stood motionless. Her purse was lying near her feet, but she did not pick it up. She watched her savior. The guy walked over to those lying on the sidewalk. He checked each one out. The savior hummed contentedly and walked over to Amelia. "It's okay, they're alive. They'll be fine. They'll lie here for a few minutes and wake up. Let's get out of here," he said and picked up Amelia's purse. She took her bag in her hands, staring intently at the guy's face. And then she recognized him. She grabbed his hand and said, "God, Alex, is that you?" The guy looked at the girl carefully and furrowed his eyebrows. You could tell by his look that he didn't recognize her. "Yes, it's me. And do we know each other?" Amelia looked at him intently. "Oh, Alex, this is no time for jokes. I'm so glad you're here at this time. What would have happened if it weren't for you? I can't even imagine. You saved me, and that's incredibly lucky. That'll teach me a lesson not to go out alone at night anymore. I'm so relieved. How grateful I am." Alex looked at the girl carefully, trying to remember how she knew him. He thought that he didn't remember half of the girls he had dated before. Could this be one of them? She has such a confident demeanor, there could be no mistake here. She really knows him. Alex was embarrassed to show that he didn't remember her at all. So he pretended to know her too. Wow, you're a hottie. You're a hottie. How can you be out late at night alone? What if they did something terrible to you? He said to the girl. I know, I'm a silly fool. My parents can't know that I almost got in trouble. Let's just say you were out with us and just walked me out. In fact, let's go to your place first, and then I'll call a cab. I can't go home right now. I'm too excited. My parents will know something's up. I don't want to scare them. The girl took out her phone and dialed the number of the cab. She spoke the address quietly, and Alex looked at her in bewilderment. How did she know where he lived? And why was she so sure she was going to go to him? And who was she anyway? Judging by the cool phone and the gold jewelry she was wearing, she was well-to-do. Why is she out alone at night? That a car had pulled up. Alex thought to himself. Amelia pulled Alex with her into the car. The boy automatically followed the girl. They drove in a direction unknown to Alex. All the way Amelia said something tenderly, holding Alex's hand. He didn't even have time to respond. He didn't even understand everything she was saying. She was talking to him as if she had known him all his life. After a few minutes, they stopped outside a large and beautiful house. He got out of the car, looking at the mansion. Amelia got out after him and gave him a nudge. Come on, open up, why are you standing there? I can't, I don't have the keys, Alex answered. You forgot your keys. Okay, let's call then. And the girl pressed the bell button. Alex continued to look with interest at what was happening. He realized that the girl decided that he lived here. But he didn't hurry to dissuade her. He wondered why she took his hand. What was the other one? What was even going on here? While he was pondering, the door had already opened and they stepped inside. Everything in the house was expensive and fancy. Alex had never been in such a rich house before in his life. He looked around curiously. He was interested in the portrait near the entrance, where there was a beautiful woman with a child about 10 years old. And Amelia hurriedly went into the living room. She hugged the woman who got up from the couch. Hello, Elia. It's good to see you. I came with Alex. We've been hanging out together in the same company. I thought I'd stop by and say hello. And then I'm going home from your place. The beautiful woman, whose name was Elia, frowned and said, I don't understand anything. How come you went out with Tom if he came home early today? Did you go out during the day? Because Tom was home by 6 o'clock. Where were you out late? Amelia frowned. No, I'm here with him now. Elia looked at Amelia incomprehensibly. Then she turned to the stairs and shouted. Tom, are you still awake? Can you come downstairs for a minute? A couple seconds later, a guy in shorts and a tank top came down the stairs. Amelia looked at him fearfully. He was dressed very differently from when he had rescued her. What's going on? Everyone stood in silence, shifting their gaze to each other. And then Alex walked into the living room. Amelia opened her mouth and immediately covered it with her hands. She transferred her gaze from Tom to the guy who had saved Amelia. They were like 2 drops of water, similar to each other. And the resemblance was striking. Amelia stood there with her mouth open, looking at her savior. Who the hell are you? Why didn't you say that we didn't know each other? And why did you call yourself Alex? And why did you come here with me? Amelia asked the guy a bunch of questions. Alex didn't take his eyes off his doppelganger. First of all, I thought you knew me, since you called me Alex. It's really my name. But everyone calls me Alex. Secondly, I was interested that you were so sure you thought I was another guy. Secondly, I was interested that you thought I was another guy. So I decided to find out. I didn't mean any harm. I was just curious. Except now, I'm even more curious. Who are you and why do you look so much like me? He turned to Tom. He just looked at Alex. Then he came closer. Amelia saw that there could be no doubt. They really were twins. People can't be that much alike unless they really are twin brothers. Mom, will you tell us what's going on? Without turning around, Tom turned to his mother. Ali's story took about an hour. Everyone sat down on the couch to listen to the woman carefully. Ellie never married after her husband was gone. She was 30 years old at the time. And she really wanted a child. It was no secret that she adopted a boy who became her own son. But it turns out he had a twin brother. Elia wanted to adopt both boys, but she'd already been beaten to it. Some family took one boy. Elia only adopted Tom. Tom knew that Elia was not his birth mother. But to him, she was the most related person in the world. And he didn't know he had a brother. He and Alex looked at each other, not believing such a coincidence. They hadn't met before because for a long time Tom and his mom had lived abroad. They hadn't come home until a couple years ago. And maybe they could have met. But the guys were in completely different social circles and companies. Elia took the boy's hand and said, "I am happy that I met you. I really wanted you to be my son back then too. But your parents beat me to it." "How are your parents doing?" Elia asked. The boy looked sadly at the woman. "They have been gone for more than 5 years, unfortunately. Now I live alone. I have no grandparents. I am alone in this world. You know, I was thinking today that there is no such thing as not having a single soul mate in the world. That's what happened to me. But then I found you." He turned to his twin brother. Elia smiled slightly. She sat between the boys. She took each of them by the hand and looked at them in turn. Then her gaze stopped on Alex. "I certainly have no right to ask you to do this. But maybe you'd like to live with us. You're alone anyway. If you don't want to, you can come anytime. You're always welcome. You and Tom are brothers. And I want you to never be apart again. Will you think about what I'm offering you?" Elia looked pleadingly at Alex. He was silent, but tears glistened in his eyes. He couldn't believe everything that was happening. What could happen in life? Do such incredible twists of fate happen? Just an hour and a half ago he had no one. And now he has a brother and a twin. It's unbelievable. What happens next? Does he really have a family again? I don't know what to do. I'm nothing to you. I'm a stranger to you, he answered. But Elia shook her head. You're not a stranger to us. I've often thought about you. I hope that your life had turned out well. You happen to be sitting here with us now. And I think we should be a family because it's the right thing to do. I wanted to adopt you, too, but it didn't work out. So let me be the one for you now, who will love you like a son." Amelia looked at everyone, thinking about the fact that she had to go alone tonight to meet those guys. Otherwise she wouldn't have met Alexei. She had already called her parents and told them she was at Aunt Ali's house right now. She was already anticipating the moment when she would tell them the whole story. And this story with a happy Kellen because twin brothers who never knew of each other's existence are reunited. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next videos. Subscribe to our channel. All the best to you.